for joining us today for the first Flow Fest. I am your host, Ronin. I am the head of partnership and I'm head of partnerships at GigLabs, and I am being joined by a few guests today to chat about culture and entertainment in NFTs. So I'm being joined by Obie Fernandez, who is the CEO of Record Shop. How you doing, Obie?
Hey, good to be here, man. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today, man. As well as Alex DiNunzio, who is the CEO of Jambb. Thank you for joining us today, Alex. We appreciate you being here today.
You're welcome, Ronin. Jam, like the sweet stuff you spread on your bread.
Jam, okay, I got it. Sounds good. As well as Kelly, and I am not sure, DiGregorio?
You did very well.
Awesome. VP of Partnerships at Dapper Labs. Thank you so much for joining us, Kelly.
Thanks for leading us.
Absolutely. So today we are going to be talking a little bit about culture and entertainments and NFTs. NFTs aren't just a piece of code. They really are a status symbol. These days we are seeing lots of big stars come into the space, athletes, artists, entertainment brands, as well as cultural icons and thought leaders and, influencers as well. So with that kind of like as our talking point, I'd love to kind of get an intro from each of you first and talk a little bit maybe about how culture and entertainment and NFTs plays into exactly what you're doing with blockchain technology and on Flow. And we can start with Obie from Record Shop.
Thanks. Well, my name is Obie Fernandez. I'm the CEO and founder of Record Shop. And what we're doing at Record Shop is essentially tokenizing pieces of electronic music culture. And we're doing it in such a way that includes working musicians in electronic music from around the world, including some notable figures, both from the past and present, of electronic music. And we're doing it in a way that establishes probably a new bar, for the kind of artist engagement that's possible. It kind of shows, I think, what we will someday consider perhaps commonplace in the 21st century, the way that artists and fans have a tighter relationship, and the way that fans are able to perform patronage for their favorite artists more than has ever been possible before. And we think that the cool technology that we're developing on Flow blockchain really helps us to pioneer those changes for the future, and it's really, really exciting.
Absolutely. Alex, if you'd like to go next.
Yeah, hello, Alex DiNunzio, CEO of Jambb. Ronan, again, thanks for having me here. So at Jambb, we're really focused on helping comedians and entertainers take the content they've created and find new value from it. So imagine collecting the cultural moments that you love as expressed through comedy and doing that within our products. I think one thing that we've sort of all globally seen over the past year or two is just the way comedy can unite us through some very difficult times. And just as music has a uniting factor, so too does comedy. I think I shared more YouTube links of comedy than I ever have in my entire life the past year and a half. And so for us, we've been working deeply with comedians. We've found like a group of people that lost 9 out of every 10 cents that they had during the pandemic, and said there's got to be a better way. And how do you surface novel content and things that could excite both fans and get global exposure to things that aren't yet out there? So really excited to bring that to Flow and the ecosystem that's here.
Very cool. And Kelly.
Yeah, of course. And I'm involved on the partnership side at Dapper Labs. My background is mostly in film, television, digital entertainment, immersive entertainment, including PC gaming. And really, I'm here to help really spectacular, innovative, decentralized applications like the ones represented here get situated, build, and launch on the Flow blockchain.
Excellent. Yeah. And at GigLabs, we build on Flow. And I think that it's integral to like the adoption of the space, especially as culture and entertainment like permeate it more and more, to be able to like have that super easy onboarding process and have the access to like the tools that Flow provides. So I definitely think that we'll see a lot of brands continue to flock to like the blockchain. To start off the kind of like a little bit of the conversation directly, I would kind of like pose each of you a little bit of a question, which is what would you say currently defines NFT culture? And when we think about culture, I think that, you know, a lot of that has to do with the community. A lot of that has to do with, you know, the events that have taken place as well as the history. So I'd love to hear from each of you, and we'll kind of mix this up, and we can start maybe with Kelly first, and talk a little bit about NFT culture and what exactly that, you know, defines that.
Yeah, I mean, I think NFT culture really comes down to just a next level of access and ownership. You know, I think about true digital ownership, especially from like a resource oriented perspective. You know, you look at different ways different blockchains are doing things, but we actually, you know, we have our blockchain set up in a way that users own their NFTs or in their own accounts. It's not that they necessarily live on a ledger that continuously gets referred back to, but it really is the next level of true digital ownership. You know, coming up in the business, working at other large entertainment companies, and thinking of the concept of like digital locker, where you know, maybe you purchased the rights to own a, you know, a piece of content or rent a piece of content, but it's in a digital locker, and in theory eventually that will go away. And I do feel that going from, you know, that transition from kind of like digital locker to NFT true digital ownership really empowers users to you know, to own their moments and to own their NFTs. Just in terms of access as well, the fact that NFTs can unlock, you know, they can be social tokens themselves, they can unlock experiences, they can give you access to specific digital goods or even specific tangible things in the real world. I've seen a lot of interesting experimentation in terms of the special access that NFTs give you. And so I would say that that really is what defines the next level of digital ownership and access.
Absolutely agree. Obi, I'd love to hear from you on that, because I feel like, you know, like when I think of record shop, I immediately think of music, and I actually checked out the project. I think it's really cool. I'd love to hear like how you're like intertwining the culture and ownership, right, and access and utility when it comes to music. Excuse me.
Thanks for checking out the platform, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got an incredible community, don't we? And that's actually the beauty of NFT culture, the way it puts the emphasis on the community. And, you know, I've said on more than one occasion that what we're working on is really building a wonderful, supportive, beautiful community. And we see that every day. Like just yesterday, we had an artist come in. He's collaborates with a very, very big artist, one of, you know, the gods of EDM. And he spent hours and hours. I basically woke up, went onto the Discord, and I see that this artist that we're basically working on signing up has been talking for hours and hours with the community in the Discord. And they're basically, you know, he was like, what about this? What about that? And they're basically, the community members themselves are championing, you know, record shop to this artist and basically convincing him that it's a good idea, closing the deal. And I heard, you know, and I got to the meeting I was at a little while ago and talked to my partner, Eric, and he's like, yeah, he just called me up, that deal's done. I said, you got to thank the community. They closed them for you. And I bet you a lot of them are here and they probably know exactly what I'm talking about. So good job. And to me, like, what's beautiful about the culture that we're building at Record Shop around our digital collectibles is that they allow you to, yes, invest, and there is a money-making aspect to it, but it's what it does to you when you buy music. Like, I remember when I was a kid, and, you know, being a music lover and buying records and CDs and things like that. And CDs were not what I usually bought. I usually bought vinyl, but I could tell you like every CD I bought as a teenager, you know, and pretty much down to the track list. And why did I value those so much? You know, those 35, 40 CDs I had or something like that. It's because they cost a lot of money relative to what I was able to spend, right? And that investment in music is something that's been missing for 20 years. You know, basically since the advent of Napster and the widespread destruction that it did across the music industry. And the only reason that most musicians are able to survive is because of touring. And we saw during pandemic that they just couldn't make ends meet, you know? So what's beautiful to me about what we're building and what NFT culture is enabling in its best incarnations is really that fans are able to take ownership and pride in the investment that they make in their favorite artists. And that makes them love the music even more. Like we have thousands now at this point of fans actively engaging on Discord. We have over 15,000 fans register on the platform. And there's so much every day that we see that where it registers that they're really loving the music, and they say, you know, I haven't stepped foot in a rave in 20 years, but I love this music. Or I've never listened to electronic music. You know, I thought I was a rap fan or something like that, but I can't get enough of this stuff. Or I'm introducing my kids, you know, to Solarstone, or, you know, one of our trance artists, things like that. This is completely new, right? In a way. However, it's also very, very established, you know, back when people used to buy music. So the fact that we're bringing that back is pretty amazing all around. It's amazing for the artists, and it's also an amazing experience for the fans. You know, they get to enjoy the music that much more. It breaks my heart to believe that as a society, we're willing to let music just be, you know, a garbage passive activity that's not worth anything. To me and to everyone at Record Shop, music is valuable.
I really think that part of, for me, NFT culture really is giving underappreciated arts that power back, right? Like when you look, like we've got you representing music, which is huge, right? We know that art is huge for NFTs. You know, Alex is representing comedians, which again is probably another one that took a huge, massive hit, right? And where does that value go, and how do we bring that value back? And unfortunately, the reason that they weren't able to get through those times is because they weren't able to capture as much value as they should have as the creators of this art, right? So for me, NFT culture really is giving back more of the value to the creators themselves. And Alex, I'd love to hear from you and hear a little bit about like how you guys are doing that with comedians and kind of building that NFT culture into your experience for your collectors.
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. I think I'll just step back. Like we've been at Jamb since early 2020. The first year, we really focused on helping creators identify who their top fans were and try to get them to claw some power back from YouTube and TikTok and Twitch and all these platforms where it's this cloudy bubble for them. Hey, I've got 100,000 followers. Who the heck are any of them? I don't know if Ronin or Obie or Kelly, who watches, who shares, who's more important. And so we built this analytical tool. We had hundreds of creators that used it, but we realized that we weren't going to succeed just trying to claw data out of these big platforms. Instead, we needed to add new value. And that's where sort of we married together this idea of NFTs to capture new value with the community elements and discovery of fans. And that's sort of what you're seeing in the Jamb platform. But just to like give an anecdote, Ronan, about like what I see in the space right now, to me, I just can't help think of anything but Black Friday. Like you have people that woke up early, they're camping out overnight, they're flooding into the stores to buy one or two things. And then like a group of passerbys walks by and they're like, what are those people doing? Like, why did they sleep in the cold all night? This doesn't make any sense. And so I feel like, you know, we're balancing this in our communities and helping comedians get through that. All right, so I have some people, they have no idea what you're talking about. And instead of trying to say, oh, you need to understand the blockchain and these decentralized ledgers, it's just like collect the cultural moments that you love. You know, it used to be for me, Pez dispensers and baseball cards as a kid. Like that's what I spent my dollars on. Now it's like I want to think about the things that I want to socially signal, but in a digital way instead of a physical way. And you know, it's that kind of mental shift we're trying to help fan bases and comedians understand.
That's excellent. Excellent. I love it. And I'd love to see how like everyone kind of approaches it in their own unique ways. Right. And so kind of to build off of those points, I think that talking about the community is and how the community plays into culture and entertainment moving forward thanks to NFTs, I think is a really big topic of a conversation. I know at Gig, like we have been discussing how do you move forward? I feel like the legacy way of approaching some of these business models is going to have to secede its way to community built projects, right? Like we're seeing it with like comic books. I mean, we're seeing a renaissance in comics where the community, you know, is partaking in the conversation on Discords and, you know, they're help write these comic arcs and where these like storylines go. Kelly, I'd love to hear kind of like what your thoughts on how like community is going to play into culture and entertainment brand as they move forward into this kind of like Web3 decentralized, you know, future.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of that, you're going to see a lot more experimentation with the community, engaging with brands and engaging with IP and engaging with things of which they are, the subscriptors of fandom. I think that, what we saw with CryptoKitties, and this was before my time at Dapper Labs, but basically allowing developers within the community to build interesting dApps on top of CryptoKitties, so that you could, we have this really wonderful talk that our CTO Dieter Shirley did, but he was talking about, the hats on the cats, because there, some people were developing these additional dApps that would supplement CryptoKitties and riffing off of it. And you could buy, hats for your CryptoKitties, your cats that you were collecting. And then you would, if you, for example, wanted to trade or sell your crypto cat, you could sell your CryptoKitty kind of complete with all of those things that you had added to it, even though those had come from third-party developers. And so I think it's a really interesting opportunity for brands and IP holders and creators, and even traditional ones who haven't necessarily thought of it this way, but to open up some, kind of some experimentation to the community and say, we'll allow you to riff on it, maybe to this extent or to that extent, but the community is really going to, in a way, present an opportunity to kind of supplement what these content offerings are and kind of expand upon the idea of what they can be. And I think it's a really creative thing to see, and it's really exciting. And I think it's the next kind of level of community engagement, participating in the things for which they are fans.
Absolutely. Obie, I'd love to hear some feedback.
Well, I want to make a provocative statement here, which is that the age of the algorithm and personalization and the mass commoditization of music and arts in a way that is exploitable by the YouTubes and the Spotifys and the mass capitalistic consumption of media in a personalized way, where everyone is in their own independent thread, inside of their headphones, listening to something that's specifically for them, which in some cases might even be algorithmically generated or fake music produced by ghostwriters at Spotify, et cetera. We're proclaiming that era not only dead standing, but like basically it's poison. It's destroying the cultural heritage of humanity. And I'm not exaggerating. Music is a human it's a human form of expression that needs to be expressed in groups. It needs to be enjoyed in groups. And that's a big part of what informs the decisions we make at Record Shop, and that I hope is a banner that a lot of other projects in the Flow ecosystem can go under, is that basically the power of community is what makes music worthwhile. The fact that I can enjoy music with my friends, and sometimes it's going to take the form of pumping up an artist that I love, or getting the floor of a particular song on our platform to go up because we love them so much, or we're hyping them up. But that experience of enjoying it with your friends, getting airdropped, the Disco Fries, so I'll give a shout out to them. They're an amazing act that's on Record Shop, and they are leading the way in terms of airdropping almost every week new mixes just for their fans, for Fries family, the people that own their collectibles on Record Shop, even to the extent that this week 100 Fries fam collectors got physical items, are going to get physical items from Disco Fries. But that group activity, in terms of them interacting with the artist giving back to them as a group rather than individual, is what makes it magic. That's what makes it special. And it's a big difference from what's going on right now in the mainstream. It's a big difference from what you see going on in the big streaming platforms. It's a very big departure that seems like it could only happen now due to what's being created in decentralized web and Web3 worlds, where the community is so central, so central, to everything that we're doing. And without that community, you can't thrive. So that informs everything that we're doing. And I think that's the hallmark of a good project. that's how that something is worth investing in, I think.
Absolutely. We talk about that a lot on the show that I do every week called NFT Live, which actually was why I was a little bit late to the pre-production. And it's definitely one that permeates like a lot. And so kind of that, I feel like that leads really well into one of the questions that we had kind of to go over today, which is, when it comes to NFTs and brands and companies like Record Shop and Jambb, will we see product? And I don't know if I want to say will, because I think the answer is absolutely yes. But like, where do you think the biggest NFT projects will flourish when it comes to mass adoption? We've seen projects like, the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which I think is definitely going to permeate like Netflix and cartoons and comics. I think they're going to be one of those first ones, right? Like, where do you see other brands like really being able to almost beat out that legacy competition? Maybe it's, Artifact with like shoes and digital, the assets that come with them, and now they're bigger than Nike. Where do you think that could take place the most? Alex, I'd like to kind of start with you.
Yeah, it's really an awesome question, especially because that's sort of the thing that comedians or entertainers are asking us to, like, how do I find success? And let's just start with a couple things. I think one is it's going to be a group of people that understand that this is a long-term play, and that this shift is not happening for like one-off cash grab, and that they're in this, to go back to the community, to nurture this community for years to come, and not just today. And that's something that brands do extraordinarily well. That's Nike and every other big brand you just mentioned. That's the hallmark of a strong brand. And so it's, to me, that's one component. The second component is looking for those entrepreneurial figures in every one of these key spaces, music, what Obie was just talking about for us, comedy or entertainment, looking for the people that are looking to buck the trends with their managers and their agents, and the back massager that they have, and all the people that are normally cut into these processes. And they're saying, you know what, like, there is a different way to do this. I have immense value that I think I can capture from it. Let me go find out what that is. And so I think for us, we're looking sort of to combine those things together and say, there's a narrow set of people here that can really make these changes. And I think we're seeing a lot of success with people that sort of ride between various verticals. So they might have been in comedy, but that person has also done movies, and they've also done various TV shows, and they've dabbled with music because they've been an SNL. And so you see people that are sort of very cross vertical. And that group of people, which we're really excited to have some upcoming announcements about, are really the like game-changing groups of people here that can establish themselves as brands here in this ecosystem beyond even what they could do sort of in traditional media.
Yeah, I definitely think like when you add in the layers and what utility can bring right through the NFTs, like it really does allow for a brand, and a personal brand specifically, to be much bigger, right? And then when it comes to creators, musicians, artists, you can now capture so much more of that value and demand a little bit more for your creations and your contributions.
Well, yeah, and you're used to just passively listening or watching something. I think that the days of that are over. Like, why would I just sit and watch a show if I can interact with the people that are in the show, or if I can make a bet on that show and fund the next season and get rewards back from it, or get a perk from the person that put it on, or see the 20 minutes of content that I couldn't see because it now exists in this other platform. I think, for every comedy show that's filmed, there's probably 45 minutes of jokes that don't make it in, or for every film there's an hour left on the cutting room floor. Why don't people see that? And I think that's the kind of thing that we're super like excited about here.
Yeah, for sure. I think that we'll kind of let that lead into our final question. Then we'll do some wrapping up, let everybody get a second to kind of let everybody watching know where they can find you guys, because we've got about 5 minutes left. But I do want to kind of hit this last point, which is where do we collectively see the industry going when it comes to implementing NFTs, and how do we see that evolving over the next 3 years? Alex, you kind of touched, you hit, quick fire shot off a few of different them, but maybe specifically for the industry you're in, and then we'll get to Obie and Kelly as well. But for comedians and comedy, how do you see it evolving over the next 3 years?
Yeah, it's just about interaction with the comedians, as well as everyone wants to be at the Comedy Cellar in New York, part of the 100 people that get to watch something live. I mean, that's where Seinfeld, that's where, no matter who it is, they started their career at that place. But you have to be in New York. You've got to have your vaccine card. You got to be at the door, put your phone in a little case, all the barriers that are to that. Well, that, I think, to me, the next couple of years are about bringing those experiences to people, regardless of where they are in the world, and letting them participate, not just in the content, but then also say, that is someone that I absolutely need to learn more about, and create these little flywheels for various comedians that drive traffic back to their other work and sort of generates more interest back in the collectibles along the way. And so I think that's really, it's exposure, and you're going to do that through kind of community development and discovery. And I think what Obie was talking about, at these like algorithmic blockings of discovery, I think the same thing is true in comedy or anything else, where you yourself need to be with friends and have things sent to you and go and do that discovery, which you can do in a club when 10 people get on stage, but you can't really duplicate in your own living room. So how do you do that, within our ecosystem?
Excellent, excellent. Kelly, I'd love to hear kind of a little bit about, Dapper is obviously really honed in on moments when it comes to, their real big partnerships at the time. But what else will we see that really starts to kind of permeate the culture of NFTs over the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's Top Shot, and there's other rights that Dapper's announced, like La Liga and NFL, that will be coming, and that's in terms of Dapper being the DApp publisher on their side. We also, in addition to that, have just hundreds and hundreds of developers that are developing for the Flow blockchain. And between what we're doing and what we see our partners on Flow blockchain doing, it's really exciting in terms of various ways of looking at what blockchain can do in terms of NFTs and just in terms of the blockchain technology and protocols available in general. One thing that really gets me excited about kind of the future in general is this concept of, right now there's a lot of taking content that's been created, it's gaming assets or video or character cards for a game or something along those lines they're being minted into NFTs. But I really get excited about the prospect of content creation and rights management happening on the blockchain. The notion that people could get together on the blockchain as an entity. We talk about the music industry, right, Obie, like talking about, getting, composers and musicians and sound recorders and getting people together virtually, not necessarily in a room, not necessarily having to be in the same studio, but being able to like put together a track on the blockchain, and the blockchain then tells you exactly who owns what and what percentage, and make sure that everything is really transparent and empowers creators. And so that's something that gets me excited about what I think will be like the next iteration of culture and entertainment on the blockchain.
Excellent. Excellent. So Obie, do you want to kind of like touch on that point real quick and then tie it up with how we can kind of follow up with you after this?
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, I want to give what hopefully is not a too radical opinion, that I think in 3 to 5 years, NFTs really won't be a thing. I think what it's about is digital collectibles and fan and artist engagement in significant ways, where like the fans can be really vested. As someone who lived through the 90s, I can tell you that like my aunt, my grandmother were studying HTML. Like you could talk to an average person on the street, they knew what HTTP was. Like everyone was very excited about this World Wide Web, and they could tell you what www meant and all that stuff. And we shouldn't forget, as we go about evangelizing this new world order that we're creating in NFTs, that the average consumer doesn't really care about this geeky early adopter stuff. And, it's a very, very tiny minority of the population around the world that actually knows what an NFT is or has any interest in participating at all. So the product choices, we've made at Record Shop is to de-emphasize that part and just talk about the great experiences you can have interacting with your favorite artists, owning their music, owning their moments, getting proof that you attended a certain event, as a collectible, and things like that. So if you want to see how we're building that future, Record Shop, it's spelled RCRDSHP. If you forget, you can just type recordshop.com spelled with vowels. It'll redirect you to where you want to go. Definitely, if you're thinking about investing or getting involved in some way, hit our Discord. It's got a very vibrant, friendly community. People say it's the best community in this space. And thank you so much, Ronin and Kelly and Jambb for letting me share this panel with you guys.
Absolutely. Real quick, Alex.
Yeah, thanks again, and echo what you were saying, Obie, about that user experience for sure. I gave you the thumbs up. So jamb.com, jambb.com, go there, check it out. We also have a Discord community, which you can find linked through Flowverse and all the FlowFest activities, and join our conversation there as well. But yeah, thanks again.
Awesome. And Kelly? Oh, you're muted.
Dapperlabs.com.
Awesome. Easy. And I'm Ronin. You guys can follow me at twitter.com/Ronin DACC, Ronin the Collector. I work for GigLabs. We're actually doing a little bit of an after party on our Discord. You can find that information on the Flowverse FlowFest Discord. Go to Rare Rooms, check it out. We've got a link there. You can come have a conversation with me, learn a little bit more about what I do and what we do at GigLabs. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. And thank you to all my guests and
Ronin, let me give a shout out to my OGs and OGAFs.
Yeah, for sure.
Record shop, man.
Yeah, and thanks again, Ronin. And check out Hannibal Buress tomorrow night for live performance for the FlowFest crew. So it should be an event you do not want to miss.
Yeah, plus there's more nuggets coming this week, more set closings and additional information. So don't miss me on FlowFest tomorrow.
Check them out, guys. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.